And
Okay,
I can
because on
see
my part of
the
it is
entire
not.
software.
Perfect. All right, let me close out this one screen. And hello, everybody. My name is Hope. If we haven't met before, I hope I meet you at one of our events or on another webinar. And so we're going to talk about some brand new features in Craft and Cut. But before I get started, I wanted to share with you, we've started just today a brand new Hope Yoder fan group club. And so if you would like to join me on this new club, you can search for it on Facebook by typing in what you see on your screen, Designs by Hope Yoder Fan Club. And we have our new social media marketing staff member that is going to be accepting you right away. And we have some surprises for you for all who join. We're going to give you some free stuff to help you spread the word about this. So we're going to get started. I want to share with you the layered rhinestone tool, but I'm going to say that towards the end because I know we have some more joining us. So kind of keep the best for last. But right now, I'm just going to get started with showing you some of the other updates. There was a new update about 2 or 3 weeks ago with some really cool and exciting things. And actually, let me open my mouse clicker here just a minute so you can follow me a little better. Perfect. Now here's the brand new layered rhinestone tool that we'll be talking about a little bit later. But let me open a brand new screen. And one of the things I get asked everywhere I go is, how do I ask questions, or how do I tell somebody if my computer crashed? And then the number one question I get asked everywhere is, how many computers can I load Craft and Cut on? And so it's two computers like all R&K or Floriani products. But right where my mouse is on the help screen, if you open this up, when you open Craft and Cut, whoops, for the first time, you're going to see this screen. And I know if you're like me, a lot of us close out this screen without even paying attention to it because it pops up. But really important are the support ticket. And so I will tell customers or our students that you want to fill out a support ticket because I don't own the software. I just help teach the software because I love it. And if you have a problem with it, there's a whole staff waiting to help you, and you would find it on this support ticket. And when you click on this, it's going to take you to Quilter Select page, and it says Craft and Cut Support. You will need to enter your serial number, operating system, and then down here is where you'll type any issues that you have. So that's important. And also, if you missed a webinar, our last webinar, you can click here. We did some foiling around, and there's that webinar. And let's see, the videos that were built in, but also the Craft and Cut team has put together a manual that can be accessed here. And this is new. I believe this came out, I don't know if it was this year or the end, but there's a complete manual. Thanks, DJ and team, for all of that. But you can find that and save that right here. All right, so let's get into some really fun stuff. So first of all, there is Font Play. So let's open that. This is a brand new feature, and some of you out there probably make crafts and sell them to earn a little extra money for your family, or really just to buy more fun supplies. And this is a great tool that you can use personally or in your business. Font Play is works with Craft and Cut fonts, and you can select a font, and when you click on it, you have this sentence that will come up for every font so you can see what it's going to look like. If I went to the Ever After font, you can see this here. I love this feature, and this is found in some high-end commercial programs, and now it's in Craft and Cut. Now that's the default text. You can change the color. So if we've met before, you probably know my favorite color is pink. So I'm going to change that to pink, or you would change it to whatever color you plan to use to cut out. Now, if you wanted to see all the letters and the symbols that are available within that font, you're going to click on letters. and you're going to see this screen that shows you you've got uppercase, lowercase, numbers, symbols. Perfect. Now for this custom screen, if you select that, you can type in whatever you want. And whatever you're going to say, select OK, and then it'll see what your text looks like. So if I wanted to change that, all I'm going to do is work down. So this gets me excited because I spend hours checking different fonts. And so if I was just to use this, that would save me a lot of time. Ooh, that one's fun, Playground. Now, if I wanted to preview it, we can do that. And that's going to open another screen. And this screen, while it may look the same, you actually have a print screen, so you could print this out and show it to your clients or your friend or your granddaughter and whoever you were going to make this from, and see if they like the text or the font. You've got settings here, and these are for your printer settings, but if you wanted to import it so it's in the Craft and Cut software, because maybe you typed in something that you wanted to use, then you would select import, and that actually brings it right into your screen. You would change the text here to whatever you want. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is Font Play. We also have a new font manager, and so let me close this out, and we'll come to a brand new screen. And the font manager is going to be found or accessed under Program Settings. And here's my mouse. It's the little gear, your settings. So if you click on this, this is where you can give a default embroidery format. So if you have a brother or baby lock machine, you're going to want PES format, or you can select whatever format you have here. You've got your environment view. I'm going to change this instead of blue to lime green just to show you something different. And then fonts are right in here. Now the font manager is where you can manage your favorite fonts. So let me get this back. I was playing around before the video. So let me get these all back to default so I can show you what they do. So when you open the font manager for the first time, you're going to have a middle column that shows all of the built-in Craft and Cut fonts available to you. And then over in this column is where you can add your favorite fonts, which would be the fonts that you like and you tend to use over and over again, which this is really nice, especially if the fonts aren't on the top of this list. Maybe you have to scroll down and you love something that takes you a while to find. And disabled, the column on the right, are fonts that you just really don't care for, and you probably are never going to use them, and you'd rather shorten this font list so you don't see them. So let's just play around a little bit. Playground was a font that I just used, and I said, ooh, I like that. It's like a kid font. So I'm going to select favorite. And Dill Pickle is one of mine that I use an awful lot. And so Dill Pickle is going to be one of my favorites too. And let's see, I like Happy Font. And I like Applique 2 font, but it's up at the top of the alphabet. So I'm going to leave it like that, right at the top. And let's just say Serenity is a nice cursive font. All right. I'm going to add that there and select OK. And now when I type in text, and you'll do that by left clicking on the text tool, you've got straight text. So I left click there, and then I'll left click anywhere in the open area, and I have my font. I was using TrueType font last, and whatever the last thing you've used, that's going to populate at first. So I'm going to deselect that. And now when I click on the drop down arrow, notice it's out of order. originally all curled up was the first font, but because I added my favorites, it put Dill Pickle, Happy, Playground, and Serenity at the very top so that I don't have to scroll down trying to find it. So if I was going to change Happy, I'm going to select Happy and then apply. If I wanted to see the Serenity, then I would do the same thing. So that's the font manager, and that adds them to the top. But if I look at this list, let's say I go all the way down and I know that I don't use anything in the W, the Wesley, the Western Flare, or the Westward. So I want to disable those. I'll come back into the font manager here, scroll over to fonts, and now I can scroll all the way down and I'll select the fonts with a W and disable them. Now this does not delete them from Craft and Cut. It just hides them so you don't see them. And select OK. Now when I come back into my font, let's check it out and see if it worked. Yay! There are no fonts with W. So that's pretty good. That helps me kind of clean up my favorite fonts. And at any time, if I want to reinstall those fonts, I'm going to select them and then enable them to make them show up again. Perfect. So you can change this. I love this feature because I literally spent hours finding that perfect font. So that's a great feature. All right, let's close this out. For all of you who just joined us, welcome to the webinar. I see a lot more have joined. I wanted to point out that we're going to be talking about a layered rhinestone new tool, and at the end, if you would like to join our new private Facebook group, I'm going to be giving away the designs for free. All right, so that is one of the new features. And let's go into a blank screen, and I'm going to work in the Hope Yoder library. And so in the Hope Yoder library, if you open it, I have mine filled with all of the free designs that came on that CD inside of your Craft and Cut box. There are 250 or 64 designs. And so in this screen, if yours is empty, put your CD in your CD drive and then select all of the designs. And then to fill this, once all of the designs are selected from the CD, you would come under File and Import Hope Yoder Designs, and you can actually bring those in to fill your library. So let's just make something fun. Well, we were talking about text, so let's type in the letter A. And I was just recently a couple days ago out at Mulqueens in Arizona doing a hands-on Craft and Cut and digital cutting embroidery event. And one of the questions that they asked is, I want to make my own applique. So let's do that from text because there's a couple little tricks I can show you. So applique, we'll do the letter C. And I'm going to select applique font 2. And when I bring that in, I'm going to go ahead and change the size right away. I'll select the Select tool, and then under the Properties window, under Transform, I wouldn't want to do an applique at 1 inch because that would just be a mess. So let's first change the size, and let's just say about a 4-inch letter, and I'll select Apply, and now this is very large, so if you double click on the magnifying glass, that will bring it back in screen. So now I'm at 4 inches high. That would make a great applique. And so here's our automatic applique tool. So while Craft and Cut is not a digitizing program, I like to call it a artwork designing program with a side of embroidery. And so this would be applique, run stitches, but no filled stitches. So notice I can't turn this into applique. And the reason is Craft and Cut sees text as text. And if I was to bring, rather than an object, if I was to open, let's just open a shape here. And if I was going to open this shape, I could turn it into applique pretty quick by simply selecting on that applique function. But now why can't I do that to the text? And here's why. An object or a shape can be converted into applique or rhinestones or run stitches, but text is not seen as an object. So let's delete this triangle. I'm sorry, triangle. Let's delete this arrow, and let me show you how easy it is to turn this into anything you want. So I have the C selected, and I'm going to right click with my mouse. And when I do, you'll see something called break up text. And I know I used to get confused because a letter I wouldn't see as text. It doesn't matter if it's 5,000 letters or one letter, you would want to break it up. So right click on it and then left click on break up text. And when I do that, watch what happens to these icons. They'll become active. I'll select this again, and now these icons are available to me. So again, that's a right click on any text and then break apart. So now that I have this active, I can go ahead and select applique. And one click, I get applique. Now, that's pretty awesome in itself. So for those of you who are newer to Craft and Cut, let me just finish this. If I wanted to go ahead and embroider this out, my next step would be to save it. So I would come under File, Save As, and then I would, let's come back into here, and I would save it as C Applique. Now notice it's saving it as a WAF file, and that is the native file, which stands for Walter A. Floriani, and that works across all the other Floriani programs. So I'm going to save that first. Now I cannot embroider a WAF file. So next I'm going to save it as, go Save As, and if I was working on a machine that requires PES format, I would then save it as PES, and then I would copy it onto my USB stick and place it in my embroidery machine and stitch it out. Now if I wanted to create a cutting file for my digital cutter, that's your next step. So with this selected, I can go ahead and select Cut Preview. And let me come back to this. So that's the embroidery file. To get the cut file, you're going to select Cut Preview. And when I do that, this opens up a new screen, and now that gives me the cut file. And if you want, you can fill it with color just so you can see it. It doesn't affect the file itself. Now at this point, I may be brand new to digital cutting. In fact, I may be so new that my cutter is still in the box in pristine condition. I get a lot of chuckles when I say that at events. So here's what's really awesome about Craft and Cut. Craft and Cut has something we call Save to Cut. And every time you want to figure out how to cut a file, you're going to run it through Save to Cut. Let's go ahead and do this. So Save to Cut is like having your personal digital cutting assistant, or me, Hope Yoder, just sitting right next to you. And the great thing is you only need to know the answers to two simple questions. Number one, what brand of machine are you going to be using? And so you have options of the Scan and Cut, the Silhouette, the Eclipse, or the Edge. You also are going to have to know what do you want to cut. And in this case, we're going to cut batik with applique. And notice there's no cotton fabric in this list. And I like to tell everybody the reason there's no cotton fabric is it would no longer be on the top of the list. So batik fabric would be the same thing as your cotton quilting fabric that most of us do machine applique with. And applique is the fusible webbing that came in your Craft and Cut box. Perfect. I answered two questions. Let's select next. Now here's where the magic starts. Because I said I was going to use the Scan and Cut, it's going to give me the blade type. I'm going to use a standard blade. The setting for the blade is 5. The cut speed 1. The cut pressure is 3. If you're listening now, that should get you super duper excited because you may not know those cut settings, but Craft and Cut does. So in Save to Cut, I always run my designs through here. Next, it's going to tell us the applique instructions. You're going to iron that quilter select onto the back of your fabric. You're going to leave the release paper on, and you're going to put the paper side down on your sticky mat. Now that's real important because a lot of people have used a product called Heat and Bond with their cutters. And Heat and Bond is a great product. It's just not my choice for doing machine embroidery applique designs because it's not sticky or repositionable. So I really love the Quilter Select applique. So that would probably be #1 on one of Hope's picks, and that's why they put it inside the box. And what I find is people want to rip that paper off and stick the sticky fusible to the mat, which is not easy and not fun. So leave that paper on and put the paper side down. There's an application video built right in to this, so you could click on that later to watch the applique process. And when you select finish, I'm going to start a new folder here, and I'm going to put the folder, let's do webinar, so you can see this. And inside of here, I'm going to put the letter C. And oh, what I didn't show you, I clicked too fast, is it said FCM file. Let me close this out for a minute and let me run this through one more time. Right at the end, when I named this, it saved as type FCM. And what's great about that is because I left craft and cut or scan and cut as the default, FCM is the file that the scan and cut wants. But for anybody who owns a different cutter that's not mentioned, you can change this to SVG, which is your universal language for cutters. DXF is what all of you Silhouette Designer Edition, or excuse me, Silhouette Cameo owners, you would use the DXF file if you don't own the paid-for version of the Silhouette software. So DXF works with the free software that comes in the box. And let's see, plotter files are for commercial cutters. And are there any Artistic Edge or Zing users out there? So calling all Artistic Edge and Zing users, here's a tip. Save as an FCM file and it'll open up in your software a lot easier. All right, now that we've done all of that, here's what's really cool. We'll go to a new page and let's open this file. So here is webinar and here's the C file. So that editable WAF file is awesome because we can bring that back in and work with it. And also it's given us the cut file. So if I import that cut file, there's the cut file. You're just going to get that to your digital cutter and cut it out. So Save to Cut is going to give you all those settings and everything else. But what I wanted to show you is one of the new updates. Let's close this out to get back here. All right. So how many quilters do we have out there? So if you're a quilter, click on my select tool, you may not want a satin stitch. You may want to use a blanket stitch. So let's select the applique, and in our properties window, if we travel up to satin stitch, I can change that to blanket, select apply. Also, I can change, and if I was going to use yellow fabric, I can put that in there so you can kind of see what it's going to look like. If I did that too fast, I apologize. Here is where you're going to pattern, is where you're going to select your applique material. Now for this, I might want to change it to a 3.5 width and space it at 4 and select OK. Yep, I like the way that looks better. So notice I changed to a blanket stitch from a satin, which is the default, and I changed the width and the density. So I can come under, this is brand new. So if you look at your screen or my screen, the applique stitch now has a drop down menu where it didn't before. So if I select on the drop down menu, I can now save a preset. So I select save a preset and then I name it what I want. And maybe I would do blanket and 3.5 width for D for density and select OK. And it's going to let me know it's saved it successfully. So what that means is if I'm going to come in and do another shape and make this an applique, instead of selecting the applique like that, I would select the shape and now select on the drop down arrow and find that blanket preset that I just made. So what do you think of that? Notice it even put the color in there. So if I was going to be using a different color fabric, I can still change that. So I can come in here and let's say I want to do pink for that. So thank you, Craft and Cut, for putting those presets. Those also work with the rhinestone tool, whether it's the line, the fill, or the artwork. All right, so let's close this out. Well, actually, while we're here, let me just come into this letter C. Let's delete this one so I can zoom in. I'm going to right click to delete it. And there's some shortcuts I want to show you in a moment before we get into the rhinestone. But here is that applique design. And with this, what if I don't want applique? Check this out. Here is my rhinestone. All I have to do is click on that. Let's fill it in. And I've just made the letter C for a rhinestone. And I can do the same thing. I could go ahead and change whatever I want and then save the preset just like I did. I could fill the rhinestone in with solid rhinestones. I can fill this in so you can get a better visual of what it would look like. So we've got preset for if I wanted a run stitch and I wanted to do a motif stitch. By the way, a bean stitch is red work and you can go from 3 to 11 times. You also have a motif. And a motif, they're just decorative stitches to cover the edge of your applique. So let's see what this looks like. That might be really cool. So that's the new preset. All right, one more thing before we get to our rhinestones. And again, all of those that are joining me, we have a new fan group. We're going to tell you how to get the next design free. So if I'm in a new page, let me just open one of the shapes and let's just do the teardrop. And I'm going to add some of these letters. We'll just add, well, we'll just do text. So we're going to do text on a path. I'm going to left click in the screen and I'm going to select my path. And let's just do this path. And we'll type in Hope Yoder and we'll change the font to one at the top of my list. Apply, and let's change the color so you can see that. All right, so I've got my path here. Wow, that's pretty ugly. All right, so I'm going to click off. I have these two objects now. And so if I select these, I want to show you some really cool shortcuts. So there's certain shortcuts that I do all the time that maybe you do as well. For instance, if you wanted to move this over, and you might accidentally move the wrong thing because it's not grouped together. So by selecting all the items on the lower right, you have group. So you can select group this way, and now when you move it, it's grouped. So there's 3 ways to select group. You have group or ungroup right here, right on this little shortcut. You can right click to group or ungroup, or you have the icon up here. So I love this little shortcut. Now the next icon, if we move over, you've got copy and paste. Now this is so cool. It's just the simple little things that get me excited. So before, when we copied and pasted an object, it would paste right on top of itself, and then sometimes I'm like, did it do it? I don't know. So check this out. I'm going to left click on this icon and it just moved it off a little bit, so it's not right on top of each other. So let me do this again. I'm going to duplicate it and notice it's off, so I really can see that it has been duplicated. All right, now let's go back. Let me get rid of these. Now the next icon is actually right above this, and you've got rotate. You can now rotate it on the lower left corner or on the upper right corner. And then you have zoom to fit. So if you notice on a lot of my webinars, let's say I'm down at 50%, I would in the past double click on the magnifying glass to get that to zoom. Well, now you can simply select the icon on the left to zoom to fit. All right, let me zoom out so we can see the icons. Here is your delete icon. So if you want to delete everything, click on the upper left corner, and here's your undo icon. Whoops. Next, you have close shape. If you need to close the shape, you can find that here, or the icon is also over on the left. Again, we have rotate, upper right corner. We have lock. So if you want to lock a layer over in your layers window, you can do that there. All right, so drum roll, please. What you've been waiting for, the new file, the new project. So here's what you guys saw if you were on my email newsletter list. And if you're not, just email me, hope@hopeyoder.com, and we can sign you up. We let everybody know about the webinar, and I had this picture, and everybody wanted to know if they could get the design free. So the good news is at the end of the webinar, we'll show you how to get that free. But let me come in here and show you some pictures. So brand new is layered rhinestone icon, and I just love this feature. It's even better than the layered vinyl, or not better, just newer. But let me just show you these pictures. So in Craft and Cut, you now can get layered vinyl with, I'm going to say registration marks, but it's a little bit different. So here's just a letter L that I wanted to show you. Can you imagine how difficult it would be to line up each blue row and each pink row using a template? All right, so there's one picture. The next picture is, this is the free file that I have for everybody who joins my new Hope Yoder, Designs by Hope Yoder fan group. And it has a heat transfer vinyl, reusable, recyclable, and resourceful, and 3 layers of rhinestone. And I maxed out my mat. And so there's Jillian in our office modeling her awesome bag. So here's how this works. First of all, you're going to generate the templates. So when I'm done showing you the pictures and the video, I'll show you how to use the tool. So what you're seeing on your screen is Sticky Flock. Sticky Flock, F-L-O-C-K. And that is the material that you're going to cut a rhinestone template. And so I have crystals in the middle, and I want to brush all the crystals into the holes so that they line face up. And then I'm going to cover it with transfer tape, and you cannot see that in the picture, but I made a video for you. And then you're going to lay your second template right on top, matching up the squares. So you can see the squares are the same size, and I'm just going to stick one on top of the other so that I can then layer my next set of rhinestones, apply the rhinestone tape, and each layer is going to keep them all together so that you have this great project. So that probably doesn't make sense to you, so I made a video, and let me get this full screen to show you the video, and then I'll show you the tool. This is the letter L, but it would work the same way. So the trick before I play the video is, notice I'm just using a commercial cookie sheet that I've lined with gray sticky flock. And what I've done is made sure that this part of the cookie sheet is not covered so that I can leave my tape anchored to this section, and anchoring it is what makes the technique work. So here we go. Hi everybody, this is Hope from hopeyoder.com, and I'm so excited. I can't stand it. I'm so excited to introduce to you the layered rhinestone template function in the new Craft and Cut software. So let me just give you a demo of how that works. I've designed a 2-colored rhinestone design, as you can see here, with the 3SS size rhinestones, which are my favorite size. And here I've already cut the 2 sticky flock templates, and then I have my rhinestone transfer tape, some 2 different colors. I'm going to use white and the crystal AB, and I got my rhinestone brush. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to lay your first template down, and I want to point out this board that I have. This is just a commercial cookie sheet that I have a different colored sticky flock stuck to, and really important, I have about a 2-inch space of no sticky flock. That's going to be my anchoring system. I'm going to put my first sticky flock down and my first template, and you want to make sure it's scraped down well. And for this one, we'll go ahead and pour some of the AB crisp, and you're going to go in a circular motion. The next thing I'm going to do is take my rhinestone transfer tape, and the sticky part, this part save, because you can store the finished rhinestone designs on it. Now what I want to do is lay this down on the cookie sheet area, and this is always going to stay anchored. And then I'm just going to drop that straight down so that when I lift this up, all of the rhinestones come up. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover this back up for right now. So the next thing we're going to do is take our second template, and these are cut the exact same size, and it's so easy. Just make sure it's going the right way, and you're going to match up the squares right on top of each other. Perfect. And what happens is this covers the holes that were underneath. Now for my second layer, hence the layered rhinestones, go ahead and brush the excess crystals out of the way, and now you're going to go ahead and remove the release paper, and then this magically is going to just set down in the right area because I've left it anchored here. It's like a transparency that's sealed at the top. Because it was left anchored here, look how nice that looks when I lift it up. The templates are reusable, so you can store them on wax paper. Okay, kind of cut off the video there, but let me get out of that. Whoops, sorry about the noise there. And so that video you can watch anytime on my website or on this webinar. So that's how you apply the rhinestones. I get asked a lot, okay, I cut the templates, now what do I do with them? So that's what you would do with them. But here is the earth, the globe, and let me just show you, I've already applied the templates. So if I drag these off and I double click on my magnifying glass to get, so you can see the whole screen, I've got 3 different templates, and I would then layer those on top of each other. So let's start right here. So here's how I create a design. And again, if you're just tuning in, let's close this out. Just to tell you, the file took me several hours. I kind of messed up along the way, and I was playing with it, not really several hours, but at least an hour to create it. And so I wanted to share that with you, to anybody who would like to join our new group. Every webinar, I'm going to be sharing the free files that I've created on this group. So you would just search it, Designs by Hope Yoder. So here's how I created the globe if you'd like to learn how to do that. The earth was one of the free designs from the 264 designs that came when you purchased your Craft and Cut. So I'm going to select earth, and that's in the Hope Yoder library. The first step is to go ahead and transform it or change the size. So it can be any size you want, and we're just going to say 8 here. One thing I will caution you, if you're going to create a file, make sure you have sticky flock big enough. Just because your mat is 12 inches wide or 15 inches wide, maybe you bought sticky flock in a 9 or 6 inch roll. So I can tell you I made that mistake. Ask me how I know, check your sticky flock width. Now once I have this create here, I'm going to go ahead and copy it. Actually, let me scroll out a little bit so you can see the screen, and I'll use one of these new functions. So to copy this, I'm going to go ahead and select, oops, I grouped it, wrong one, copy, and then I'm going to drag this off out of the screen. Now I need a second one, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the first 2 areas, and then I'm going to combine them because I want to cut out the holes so I have one color. Right now it's 2 colors. So I'm going to select combine, and then I've got this earth here. Now let's come down and let's see here. Let me hide this layer. And now I have the earth. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide this layer. So if you can see, I've got, oops, the green and the blue area. And what I'm going to do with this is I'll start by selecting the rhinestones that I want. So with this selected, whoops, I'm going to come up to my rhinestone fill, and I'm going to fill those with rhinestones. Actually, what I did before, make it easier, is I'm going to start in one section, and I'm going to fill that with rhinestones. Let me hide this layer behind there. So when I fill this with rhinestones, I may have to edit this a little bit. And I'll show you that in just a moment. So I just kind of went around and filled all of the areas with rhinestones. And let's get down to this really big area to show you, because I won't waste time showing you how to fill in. I'll just show you how to edit it when you need to. So if I was going to select this, I would fill it with rhinestones. And this section I'm going to fill. And if we zoom in a little bit, I'm probably not going to automatically fill that with rhinestones. So what I would do then is I would select the single rhinestone template. And when that pops open, I want to be, whoops, I want to be in millimeters. I'm going to right click and go into metric. Let's try this again. I want to be on the 3.30. And now I can kind of place these wherever I want them. All right, and you can do that by group doing it or the way that I just did that. Sorry, my screen's going a little crazy. Now, if I wanted to do the earth in a different color here, I would then go ahead and fill it with rhinestones this way. Whoops, not what I wanted to do. So I can select the rhinestone fill, and I just kept placing rhinestones wherever I wanted them. So this was kind of a complicated design, which is why I wanted to give this to you free. So let me show you just a really simple exercise that you could do at home. If you wanted to create your shapes, you could create a circle, and then we'll fill that with rhinestones. And then I'm going to use my shape tool to select maybe this. I'm going to select both items and center these, because the trick would be, it would be really hard to center all of these and get them in the right place. So maybe I wanted to use a different color rhinestone next, and I wanted to use a bigger rhinestone. So we were using 3SS. If I wanted to go up to the largest rhinestone, I could do that. So I'm looking like I have a birdhouse here. So it's kind of cool. And now let's do another circle. And we'll change this to a different color. And let's just do a dark color. And we'll change this back to yet another size rhinestone. So I have 3 different sizes of rhinestones and 3 different colors. And so you would never be able to place those easily and keep them centered with the different colors. Now, some of you might be looking and saying, you know what? Check this out right here. They kind of overlap. And I thought rhinestones should never overlap. Well, if you thought that, you would be right. So let me show you how to fix that. You're going to travel over to your rhinestone edit tool and select edit. And then with this, you can move it. Now it's not grouped together. And I could move that, or I could insert or delete a rhinestone. So if we want to get out of that mode, let's go over here. And of course, that doesn't look as good as I want it, but just for the exercise, I think you can see that. Let me fill this in with color. Whoops, not what I wanted to do here. All right, so I have my 3 rhinestones. Now comes the magic of the new layered rhinestone template. So this is like the drum roll moment. Are you ready? I'm going to select it. I love this. This is like a one-click wonder. I'm going to select it and bam. Let me undo that because maybe you just looked away. So again, I'm going to select all items and then I'm going to select the new layered rhinestone tool. Bam. There we go. Let me show you what happened because it may not be super exciting yet, but remember the video where we need to have this box be exactly the same size. So it's grouped it into different layers and it's created my 3 rhinestone templates. So what do I do next? Well, now I'm going to run this through Save to Cut. And Save to Cut, again, I'm going to say what brand of cutter am I using today. So right now, let's select the Silhouette Cameo. And what material would I cut? Well, for rhinestones, you're going to cut sticky flock. So let's select that. Select Next. Here we have some different settings. We're going to select Finish. And I would do rhinestone. And we'll just put Test since I'm probably never going to cut this out. I have this template that pops open so I can see that and I can print that if I like. And when I'm done, let's come into a new screen, then I would simply select Import so that I could see it created 3 rhinestone tests. Rhinestone test 1, here's the picture of the oval. So notice it added an O1, an O2, and an O3 to the file. So that would be my first layer. The little birdhouse would be the second layer, and the third layer would be the oval. So those are the 3 designs I would shoot over to my silhouette. Now, if you don't own a the designer edition for the silhouette, you're going to need to actually change this. So let's come into the Silhouette Cameo, Sticky Flock, and we'll come next. And if you don't own that upgraded version, you don't really need it at all if you have Craft and Cut. So if you don't have it, don't buy it. Just note you're going to change this to AutoCAD DXF file. All right, and if you do have it, then an SVG file works great. So that is the layered rhinestone tool. Let me get rid of this very ugly file I created just to show you. Just play around with it. Here's the file that I started. And let's go back to the earth file. So here's the actual file. And I did go in here and edit quite a bit. So if I was going to undo this, you can see in my layers I have the 3 different layers for the rhinestones. Then I went in and I used True Type font that I actually welded together, and I'll show you weld real quick. I think we have a couple minutes left. So I've given you this file that you would cut out of heat transfer vinyl, and the file is actually mirror image for you, but I just turned it back around so you could see it. And so again, here is the actual image. If you'd like the globe design free and you don't have a couple hours to spend designing it, it's yours free. We've given you the clear and the blue and the green rhinestones. These are size 3SS or 10 millimeter stones. And I've also given you the reusable, recyclable, and resourceful file. And that will be here to anybody who joins our new Designs by Hope Yoder fan group. And so you can just type that in your search mode. And for joining, then you'll have a download with all the files. I've given you the WAF file, the SVG, the FCM, and I did print the templates for you. So let's do the last final thing, and let's do some text. So this, whoops, let's do some small text. So we can see this here. And if I wanted to create text that I'm going to weld together, let's try that Serenity. And I'll apply that. And let's do this at 10. And just to show you, I did reusable. And I'm going to type that in. And if I wanted to weld these letters together, then, whoops, so sorry. If I wanted to weld the letters together, First of all, I'm going to go ahead and move them. So I'm in the text mode, so I can move the letters so that they overlap. Because to weld something, just like if you were welding metal, you would need it to do more than touch. You would actually need it to overlap a little bit so that you can combine the objects into one. So I'm going to overlap those a little bit. Next, I'm going to get out of my text mode by selecting the Select tool. And when I do that, if I unfill this, you can see, whoops, that this has jumped back the way it was. So I'm overlapping those, and I'm going to actually right-click to break up the text. Now I can move these all so they overlap however much I want. And you can do this with any type of font, whether it's TrueType font or the built-in Craft and Cut font. So there's reusable. Now, if you don't know if those are all in line, here's a ruler that you can drop down, and you can actually just make sure each letter is sitting there. So to drop down a ruler, you're going to hover your mouse on the upper left with your mouse left button still activated, pull down, and you've got a ruler right there so that I can line things up. So once I've done that, now if you want the ruler out of the way, simply left click on it while dragging. So all of these are overlapping now. My weld button is found inside of this grouping. Left click on the drop down arrow and scroll over until you find weld. And what you'll see is where these little pieces would actually, if I cut them, they would take a bite out of this. So I'm going to weld this together, and now you can see that it's one piece. So this is before, and this is after activating weld. So then if I wanted to fill this in with color, that's how you're going to weld to weave this all together. So that is one of my favorite new tools. We've got this beautiful earth design here, which we simply added the layered rhinestone tool to. And then we also have the reusable, resourceful, and recyclable tool for you. We've shown you applique, lots of things that we've shown you here. So DJ, I think that's about all that I have. We kind of covered a lot, but the great thing is you can turn me off and pause me anytime you want, because you know what? On my webpage, hopeyoder.com, we're going to have the Craft and Cut video recorded so you can watch it again. Also, back into the Craft and Cut training, within about 48 hours, this webinar will be recorded, and you can find it also by clicking on the webinar there, or if you go to hopeyoder.com under video clips, I have 3 pages of Craft and Cut videos. So actually the Convert to, Font Manager, Layered Rhinestone tools, and there's some more updates I didn't go over, but you can find all of those there. Don't forget to try to find me, my Designs by Hope Yoder fan group page, and under Files, you can receive these free. We're going to leave them up for a couple days, so please share that group with all your friends. When we hit 1,000, we're going to give you another free design. So DJ, thank you so much for letting me share the layered rhinestones and all the new tools. So just end with this. I'm going to delete this reusable by the new shortcut, and bam, here I am.
Thank you, Hope, and thank you everyone for attending, and we look forward to the next webinar. So make sure you sign up. You can get to the webinars from the Craft and Cut page that opens when you open the software, which she's going to right now. She's showing you on her screen. So you want to make sure it's the link above.
It's hard to get good help, right?
Yes. So if you click on that, you'll see that you can see when the next dates are and what the topics are, and you just click here to register, and make sure you sign up for those, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Again, Hope, thank you, and thank you everyone for attending, and we'll see you next time.